Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. I just came across one of the most remarkable confessions coming out of the Federal Reserve. Jerome Powell gave a speech August 27th, 2020. It's called New Economic Challenges in the Fed's Monetary Policy Review. In this speech, they are basically saying they are no longer using inflation in order to conduct their monetary policy. So while everybody is looking at inflation and targeting inflation, and the Fed talks about inflation and conducting their monetary policy around inflation, something very interesting was confessed inside of this speech. Now listen to this. I'm going to give you 2 paragraphs and then we're going to talk about it. In seeking to achieve inflation that averages 2% over time, we are not tying ourselves to any particular mathematical formula that defines the average. Thus, our approach could be viewed as a flexible form of average inflation targeting. Our decision about appropriate monetary policy will continue to reflect a broad array of considerations and will not be dictated by any formula. Of course, if excessive inflationary pressures were to build or inflation expectations were to ratchet above levels consistent with our goal, we would not hesitate to act. The revision of our statement add up to a robust updating of our monetary policy framework. To an extent, these revisions reflect the way we have been conducting policy in recent years. At the same time, however, there are some important new features. Overall, our new statement on long-run goals and monetary policy strategy conveys our continued strong commitment to achieving our goals, given the difficult challenges presented by the proximity of interest rates to the effective lower bound. In conducting monetary policy, we will remain highly focused on fostering as strong a labor market as possible for the benefit of all Americans. And we will steadfastly seek to achieve a 2% inflation rate over time, which we already know. In seeking to achieve the inflation that averages 2% over time, we are not tying ourselves to any particular mathematical formula that defines the average. Isn't that what I have been saying this whole time? That now inflation, monetary policy, when using inflation, has become completely arbitrary to the Federal Reserve. They are not going for a 2% average, or not a 2% target, but a 2% average inflation rate over time, which they have no formula for figuring out. Isn't this an interesting speech to be telling? Nobody talks about the average inflation rate over time. In this speech, he basically breaks down exactly everything that has taken place within the economy that I have really been saying has been part of my strategy as far as what the Federal Reserve has been up to. I've said it a long time ago, they're not going for a 2% target. When people said they way overshot, they didn't overshoot. See, the Federal Reserve, after quantitative easing 1, 2, 3, and 4, failed to produce the inflation scenario that they were looking for. They ran under the 2% target. They said that they would have to let inflation run extra hot, extra long for an extended period of time in order to achieve their monetary policies. This was stated back in, John Williams' speech, Monetary Policy for a Low Neutral Interest Rate World. In this speech, he basically talks about all the things that were a problem inside of that speech. He is saying now, inside of this speech, is stuff that they are now working on to try and fix. That they're trying to fix, right? And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a live stream tonight, and we are going to break down this speech. We are going to break down every single word of this, and we are going to get into our heads. We're going to hardwire in how it is that the Federal Reserve is conducting their monetary policy strategies, because it's not using an inflation scenario, right? In seeking to achieve an inflation that averages 2% over time, we are not tying ourselves to a particular mathematical formula that defines the average. But yet, in conducting monetary policy, we will remain highly focused on fostering as strong a labor market as possible for the benefit of all Americans, and we will steadfastly seek to achieve a 2% inflation rate over time. In this speech, they describe exactly how they do that, what it is that they plan on doing. I am going to break this down. We are going to figure this out. And I mean, just some of the things that are, I don't know how to like bring it up anymore. I'm just going to end the video right here, but come back. It's, what is today? I believe today is the 7th, 6th, 7th. Shit. I don't remember what day it is. It don't matter. If you're watching this and it's recently uploaded, come back to my channel later tonight, 5 o'clock or so, and we'll review this speech. I mean, it is a boring speech, but if you're into monetary policy and you want to know what the Fed's strategy is, this is how we figure it out, right? Because after I read this speech, I was quite excited because it tells everything that they're up to right now. And considering that they are no longer looking at an inflation as part of their monetary policy, everybody is looking at that. Yeah. So frustrating, isn't it? All right. But it won't be frustrating after we figure out what it is that he was saying in here, because then we're going to really understand why the Federal Reserve has positioned the economy in the way it is. Well, not even the economy, monetary policy, right? The economy functions separate. Like, this is another thing that, you know, a lot of people got to wrap their heads around. The Federal Reserve is not the Dow. It's not the real estate market. It's not any of that stuff. The Federal Reserve is a conductor of monetary policy and banking finance. That's what they do. All right. I'm going to leave it at that. All right. Come back later for the live stream. I will try and get a link for it, and I'll put it in the description of this video. Uneducated Economist, you guys let me know.